Oh my goodness, it's that time of the week already, Mason. Really sneaks up on us, doesn't it?
James,
Yeah, what's up?
do you want to play a game?
What kind of game?
Nintendo Switch? Breath of the Wild?
You know, I have it, and I've barely touched it. I know it's something I have to get into, so yes, I do want to play Breath of the Wild, Mason.
Good, it's won many awards.
This is my Jigsaw impression.
It's really good.
Hadn't thought about it until we started.
And you're on a little tricycle.
Yeah,
He
that's
rolled
right.
into the studio on
Yeah.
that. There's a lot of pageantry to that man, isn't
It
there?
really is. He's got a puppet. He's got some robes.
Yeah.
He's got shotguns.
Oh, he's got it all.
He's got it all.
I made a little bit of a list
And
here.
you can have it all too, folks. He would have made a great motivational speaker.
He definitely would
Folks,
have.
you can have it all. And if you don't attempt to have it all, I'll kill you. Because you're not making the most of your life. That's why I'm killing you.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Anyway, leave a like if you want. But yeah, I wrote he's a real craftsman. He's doing puppets. He's doing various escape rooms and traps. He puts a puppet on a little tricycle. It's remote controlled, so the mouth's moving by itself. It's incredible. He made a little bathroom scene. It's got tiles.
Oh.
Carrie Elwes is wearing his little blue shirt. Like it is
Yeah.
to the letter.
It's like cosplayers. Like you see a cosplay outfit and you're like, oh, they had to learn 3D printing. They had to learn like
Yeah.
pattern cutting and sewing and,
Yeah.
and like electronic stuff.
Also,
and he's
mate-
got a brain tumor that's killing him fairly rapidly.
That's what I'm talking about.
We're
You-
talking about the movie Saw,
We're
by
doing
the
a
way.
movie story. It's in the title. But
Okay.
like you're on the clock, mate.
Yeah.
You go out, you buy a nice black silk-lined robe
Oh my God,
with red on the
luxurious.
inside. But look, if you're making a little bathroom, just use a shoebox. You don't need to tile it. You know what I mean? It's fine. It's okay. Maybe he's a visual learner. I don't know what he's
But I
up
mean,
to.
as we learn in this movie, he is always watching his
Yeah.
victims and whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe when the police show up and they're like, "Oh, look at the craftsmanship," he's like, "I'm pretty
Yeah,
proud of
thank
that."
you.
Actually,
I really appreciate that, yeah.
I made the tiles in a little kiln.
It does feel like a lot of this stuff would be something you'd present at like a psychopaths convention. Like it's under a
Oh,
sheet.
sure, yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe that's how he also recruits people to help him, because that happens, of course, in later movies where he's like, look, I know, just to get you on board, I've made this little
Yeah.
wind up puppet.
But I wonder, I feel like also maybe he'd be the guy that would leave the psychopath convention in disgust, because there'd be too many questions. He'd be like, yes, and then they have to run really quickly through the razor wire to escape. And how do they escape? Oh, they don't. They bleed out, I think.
Okay. So for what reason? What's the lesson
To
learned?
learn to value their life.
But they're dying. They're dead. They're dying, aren't they? You've killed them.
You don't appreciate my genius at all.
We don't, quite frankly. But that's the thing about Jigsaw. There is nothing fair about him. The scenarios he puts most people in, they're impossible.
Yeah.
You've put them in impossible scenarios here.
Like the shoddy scenario.
Like the shoddy scenario.
What are you going to learn about your life? Really dive into every aspect of your life, otherwise I'll kill you. But if you're not cautiously walking down every corridor, staring down near your feet just in case you walk past a wire that sets off all those shotties,
Yeah.
don't blame me.
Exactly.
That's your fault.
Also, he's picking on the mentally ill. There's a guy who's cutting himself because he's clearly having personal problems. And he's like, well, you like to cut yourself, do you? What do I put you in a big box of wire? Do you like cutting yourself now?
No, I didn't before either. And there's, the receptionist from Becca.
Yes.
He tried to kill her because she was a drug addict.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, man.
I think... We love the TV show Becca
We do,
here.
it's true. We love it. We're a
And
couple of Becca boys over
We
here.
certainly are, yeah. So I just wanted to mention that quickly because what kind of bullshit is it also where the key to unlock your cuffs is in the bath with you at the start and it just goes down the drain and it's like, you missed it. You know when you woke
Yeah.
up? You missed it.
You missed it, sorry. It's like those old adventure games, like your Sierra point and click adventure games. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you got to the end of the game, but you missed out on something on the first screen, so you're going to have to start again.
Yeah, there is actually a reason for it though.
Oh.
And we'll get to it because we are doing the first 3 Saws.
Yeah.
For now.
Well,
then
here's the
we'll
thing.
probably
That's
come
why,
back.
I know that this movie, it cost $1 million to make.
Yep.
And they made like $100 million.
Crazy,
so
yeah.
obviously they're going to do a lot of sequels. And I imagine most of the sequels are post hoc explaining things that happened
Yes.
in the first movie that didn't make any sense. Because this is a movie that operates on what I believe is called fridge logic,
Right.
where you watch it and you go, man, this is thrilling and exciting. Oh,
Yeah.
this villain, he's got every angle covered. And then later in the night, you go to your fridge and you open the fridge and you're like, hey, wait a minute. I forgot to buy milk. But also, that thing with the key.
Yeah.
But also, it turned out he was on the ground in the middle of the floor the whole time.
Yep.
But he wasn't breathing or moving at all
No.
at any point.
And he also must have dunked Leigh Whannell, who wrote this movie, who I actually interviewed once, very nice man.
I remember that.
He must have dunked him in the water and then lay on the floor and then be like, shit, I hope that guy wakes up.
Right. But also he had
But also, it doesn't matter if he doesn't.
But also he had a little remote control that
Yep.
he was triggering
Yep.
to electrify their shackles. So two guys in a room who are absolutely alert for literally anything happening in a room, any clue that could help them escape.
Yeah.
And at no point are like, I think that guy's alive, actually. He's probably alive. So I imagine in the next one they're going to be like, well, actually, he took one of those pills from a comic book where it slowed down his metabolism just slow enough that he knew exactly what was happening at all times in the room and could operate his little zappy machine, but also you couldn't see him breathe or move.
The zapping machine must have had 2 buttons on it because there's 2 trigger points in
That's
the
true,
room.
yeah.
Anyway, we'll come back, I guess, to the key.
Yeah.
Because that's related to something in Saw 3.
Ah,
so when we
okay.
get to that in a few weeks, we'll come back.
For the listeners, I've only seen Saw 1, and then I skipped right down to Jigsaw.
Wow.
So I missed everything in between, which is the most recent one prior to Spiral.
I saw Saw at the cinemas, and then I saw Saw 2, I think, on DVD. But I don't remember it other than Donnie Wahlberg is in it. And then I've never seen any other Saw.
Huh.
I'm looking forward to the adventures of Donnie Wahlberg.
Couple of
next
Saw
week.
aficionados right here. That's what
know
we are.
that, yeah. Well, that's why I was excited to get into this because it's a very complicated and nonsense lore. And also this...
To be clear, I enjoyed this. I
Oh
don't know if
yeah,
you enjoyed it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Caravan of Garbage, and most people know this at this point. It's whatever. Like there's a new Saw movie coming out.
If you've already put a comment in the comments about how much we obviously hated this already before, well, we should have said this early. We did enjoy this.
Tell it to Rotten Tomatoes with its something like 49% on there or whatever.
Really?
Yeah, really surprised
Okay.
me. Yeah.
Huh.
So yeah, this was going to go straight to DVD, but after great screenings, they then went, you know what, let's make it a cinematic release. And it actually got started because director James Wan, who people would know Aquaman, that's right, he's done a Fast and the Furious, he's done Conjuring franchise, he's done a bunch of great stuff. Him and Leigh Whannell wanted to make a film after they finished film school, but they can only afford 1 room, so they challenged themselves to create a film that only occurred in 1 room. And
They failed because there's a bunch of different locations in this movie.
Get them out of Hollywood! More like Hollywood, because they'll let anybody in, even guys who said they would make a movie in 1 room and they didn't.
Right.
Did you see the short film, though, that started it all?
No.
That they made, yeah. It stars Leigh Whannell, and it's just basically like,
Huh.
it got it all started, essentially, yeah. So what I think this does well is a couple of things.
Well, I think it does well. A
go
couple
on.
of things that I think it does well.
Well, I was talking.
Well, I'm going to say, look, because you're obviously going to say this, it does really well 2 men with fairly unconvincing American accents yelling at each other for 90 minutes. It does that quite well.
You're telling me you don't remember a thing about the guy?
He's a tall black guy. He's got a scar around his neck, okay?
Sure.
And I'm like, Carrie Ellis is from England.
Convinced himself that I must have somehow been involved with the murders.
It's conceivable, you miserable vomitous mass.
I don't think I knew that Leigh Whannell was Australian when I saw this.
Huh.
So yeah, it didn't. That didn't bother me. I don't know what bothered you, obviously, Mason.
Intensely. What's the secret here? Is this why they're being tested? Is this why the Saw killer's trying to kill them? Because they've spent their entire lives faking American accents? Is that why?
It might be.
You will learn to use your real accents.
Oh man. I mean,
It's truth.
So there's a few tributes here. For example, Mad Max, the Saw Your Leg Off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
For people who don't know, Saw in Australia was actually officially called Saw Your Leg Off, mate. Why don't you?
That's
I don't know if people know that, but that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
And Dario Argento, there's like nods to his films as well. There's a bunch of nods in this.
Is there any Princess Bride references? Besides Carrie Ellis being in this movie?
besides an actor from both of the properties?
Yeah, that's a little Easter egg for fans of The Princess Bride. One of the guys from The Princess Bride is in this.
We probably would have got a comment, so I'm actually glad you did bring that up.
As you wish.
I know it's you, you son of a bitch!
But the second thing I think this does well is it hides its budget really well.
Yeah.
You can see the seams, especially when you know that it is $1 million film. But things like they only had Danny Glover for 2 days, and you wouldn't know that because he's in a variety of different scenes.
Yeah.
Some of the footage also that they use to kind of pad it out, they changed to security footage because they didn't have all the complete shots that they needed. There's things like they couldn't break both of the saws they were using to saw through the chain, so they had to like pretend to saw. Do you know what I mean?
And those are $50,000 hacksaws.
Exactly. And the driving scene, the very brief one that there is, and it's hilarious when you actually know this. They're just sitting in a darkened warehouse with a smoke machine, just like turning the wheel furiously.
Do they have that classic man walking past the side of the car with a flashlight, just back and forth?
I don't think they do.
Wow.
Another takeaway from this for me, though, is nobody can throw or catch in that room.
That's true, yeah.
If Ben, who edits this, if you could put in a little montage, that'd be great. It's just fumbling around for keys and handcuffs.
They're
and
under
all-
a lot of pressure, though.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like were I in that same situation, I probably would have done like, I don't want to throw it too far past, so I just like throw the key into the middle of the room where neither of us could reach it. And they'd be like, well, great.
You've done this.
And then, at which point I think the saw killer would probably be like, he'd probably get up slowly and just nudge it in something. Because he doesn't want to see like
No. Do you think it'd get to a point where he'd sit up and just be like, okay, so this is essentially what I was going for?
That's right, yeah. But you can't even get an ironic death out of this now because you've dropped the key in the middle of the room. So yeah, look,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the key. It's not going to work, obviously, on your manacle. But you're going to learn a lesson about family or something.
You were also supposed to look in your wallet under the photo to see that we've kidnapped your daughter as well. You haven't done that yet?
If you could look in your wallet,
That's a clue. There's so many points of failure in his plan. It's hilarious. But this movie gave rise to, I think, two major things.
Mm-hmm.
One, escape rooms.
Oh,
which,
yeah.
I'm not a fan, if I'm honest.
Okay.
You?
No, I don't mind him.
Yeah.
You know.
If I wanted to escape a room, Mason, I'd use the door. That's
Unless
what
it's
I
like
do.
maths based or something
Oh,
like that.
No, oh, yeah, that's true. I've done a
I'm
couple
like,
of good
let
ones.
me out. I will not do the square root of anything.
And the other is torture porn.
Hmm.
Now, this isn't, I would say, strictly a torture porn film.
No.
But it did kind of rebirth this genre in a much more gory way. And I think also to the detriment of horror films because there's a lot of just bad torture porn
Just
films
a lot
off
of
the back
drills
this.
to the head.
Yeah, shit like that. And obviously it culminates in things like the Human Centipede films and shit like that.
This is more implied. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we don't see some drills going through a dude's head, but they could have happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
One, if the cops hadn't intervened, and two, if they had the budget to put some drills through a guy's head.
Like you don't see him cut all the way through his leg. They do a little bit of blood, a little bit of special effects, and then you cut away and he's biting down on his shirt and screaming or whatever. And
then
you
later
get
he's
it.
dragging himself in his incredibly long pant legs across,
That's right,
across the
exactly.
floor.
With a weird foot shape in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, weird. But James Wan said that he didn't intend to make what was later referred to as a torture porn film, and it was really the sequels that kind of they get it more explicit and
We're in for a treat then.
yeah. The creators of this are more hands off in the sequels too.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Also, what I like about the Leigh Whannell character, first of all, he's a private eye, isn't he? He's taking photos of men who are messing around on their wives.
Oh, yeah.
But one of the things he does, he's in a very well lit car park, and he just leans out and he goes, click! Giant flash goes off. Maybe turn the flash off if you're doing some PI stuff, mate. Do you want to talk about the twist ending though?
Yeah.
Did you see this at cinemas at the
was
time?
all a dream.
It was all a dream. Who knew what happened? Were you surprised at the time? Did you see it in cinemas? Where were you at?
I saw it in cinemas, yeah. Remind me what the twist was. That he was on the ground.
Well, there's multiple twists. Jigsaw
So many twists, all
on the
twists.
floor. Benjamin Linus from Lost wasn't really the bad guy.
Yeah.
Jigsaw also has a little flavor saver. He's got one of those.
Sure
doesn't
does,
he,
yeah.
For some
It
reason.
was the style at the time.
Oh man, Tobin Bell. What he bloody lucked out getting that role, didn't he? He had to come back for 100 movies.
Yeah, that's right.
And he dies like in a couple of films down the line, but
Yeah,
he keeps
right.
showing up in various flashbacks and whatever. But like you mentioned with that kind of fridge logic, I remember just being so caught up in the idea that this guy was on the floor the whole time, and then he's trapped in that room forever. And what happens to Carrie Elwes? He dragged himself away, but does Jigsaw kill him in the hallway? Turns out no, he comes back later in another film. But yeah, I just remember being like, wow, that was a really like strong ending. Did you think it still holds up even though you know the twist going in?
Yeah, I think for the most part, yeah.
Because you look for little clues as well, don't you, along the way?
Yeah.
Like apparently there's
the little clues that make up life.
Exactly.
I'm like, reverse bear trap. Is the killer a bear? He's out for revenge?
Yeah, there's things like you see apparently Tobin Bell's character, Jigsaw Man, Jigsaw's. Jigsy, as he was called in the Australian version. You see him holding the little, the pen light or whatever the thing. You see him when he's in the hospital bed. There's things like that.
That's how he done got it.
That's how he done
to
got
frame
it.
what's his face.
That's right. And there's other things that kind of hint towards him being the killer, which I completely blanked on going into this movie. But anyway, Benjamin Linus from Lost. What kind of plan is like shoot this guy's family? What did
Right.
they do? This is what I'm talking about. Like he's just a very mentally ill and angry man. Also,
Yeah,
in addition to the cancer, he's
Well,
not.
I mean, yeah, well,
it's not lessons.
No,
is
that's
it?
true. I mean, that is the ultimate. I feel like that is probably the biggest flaw of this film is that the idea is like, well, I'm here to make you appreciate life. Maybe you could give me a gift certificate for a hot air balloon or something. Maybe that would see a sunrise or something. That's
a really good point,
That'd be
yeah.
pretty cool. Why you've trapped me in this box filled with razor wire? But then it falls down to, well, he's crazy, isn't he? Look out.
Yeah, but I guess that's also the idea of this character that, yeah, he's a psychopath.
Yeah.
Like, he's not doing good work, is he,
No,
really?
I mean, except those little model rooms with all the tiling.
Yeah, but it kind of looks like a kid made it. Like, if I'm
Fair,
honest.
fair.
All right, but anything else to say?
That was pretty good.
Got some Saw trivia?
Okay.
No, to
Why?
you. I
Why
don't.
would I have any Saw trivia?
All my Saw trivia I put in here.
Ah.
Well, Danny Glover survives because we played the video game. I mean, it doesn't look like Danny Glover, but it's apparently the same character. So despite being shot by Benjamin Linus, he comes back.
Ah, yeah, okay,
So there
cool.
you go. Not a terrible game.
Yeah,
by
we
the
played
way.
that, didn't we?
Link it below if
Way
you do
back
want to
in the
check it
day,
out.
yeah.
Absolutely. Anyways, this has been Caravan of Garbage. We do this here every week.
Every week.
Every goddamn Tuesday. Rain, hail, or shine. Mason.
That's right.
And if you want to see them early, if you go to bigsandwich.co and sign up. We do movie commentaries there. Also, we do a bunch of bonus podcasts. Our podcast, The Weekly Planet, where we talk movies and comics and TV shows, goes out there every Monday.
We take a special drug. It slows down our heart rate. You think we're not doing a podcast. We're just lying down on the floor.
Yep.
But we're doing a podcast.
We've actually done an amazing podcast, and that will be revealed at the end of the podcast.
That's right.
My God, you got to
If
love
you're not
it.
enjoying, if you listen to the podcast, you're not enjoying it. First, you're going to receive a massive electrical shock. But then you're going to be like, wow, they did it.
These guys know what they're doing. Yeah. But don't think about it after.
No, never think about any of our podcasts after we do them. No.
Anyways, if you do have any suggestions for Caravan of Garbage, we are doing Saw 2 next week. But aside from that, please let us know.
Yeah.
And I'm at Mr. Sunday Movies on Twitter.
I'm at Wikipedia Brown on Twitter.
We'll see you guys at the next thing that happens here or a podcast.
Grab that gem, you guys. If you value your life.
Do you? You should.
Yeah, you do it. Get out there.
Yeah.
Get a hot air balloon.
No.
Get up really early.
We've talked about this. They go too early and they're too expensive.
Yeah.
Do you want to see the Melbourne sunrise from the...
Watch a video on YouTube about hot air ballooning.
Absolutely.
That's much do it any time
There's
of
a
day.
guy's like dedicated his life to it. He'll tell you all about it. Don't worry about it. I don't love it. All right, goodbye.